Alright, and we are live with some Temur Prowess and some Gruul Prowess tonight. One thing I will say off the bat is next week's stream is kind of up in the air because of health of someone in my family, so may not have a stream next week. I'll definitely have to play it by ear and let you guys know on the community channel for MTG Nexus. But last week, obviously, we worked on the Boros and Gruul versions of the deck, with the Boros version obviously being the couple copies of Flage in just addition to, DRC, Monastery Swiftspear, and Slickshot. And then the Gruul version we worked on last week was the combo version that was most notably prominent from Brian Boss from the Pro Tour with Nadu and such. Obviously, the format has dramatically shifted since the banning of Nadu and Grief, to the point where, as expected, Energy is kind of the top dog in the format overall, and followed up by some decks that really shouldn't surprise people. I mean, if you look at the top decks since the bannings, you're looking at Boros Energy and Nadu Energy, Temur Murktide, Eldrazi Breach, Jeskai Control, Ruby Storm, Amulet, and then more Eldrazi decks, Domain Zoo, and finally Groyos and Living End. Yawgmoth is not rebounded as much as I expected it would, but it's still probably the best creature combo deck in the ilk of Nadu style decks. But Amulet's definitely made a rebound. Looking in the last 7 days, it's much the same thing, with Boros and Nadu Energy, and then Temur Murktide kind of being the top of the heap. None of those are good for the Prowess decks at the moment, or Burn for that matter, but nevertheless, it's the decks I have to work with, so we'll continue chugging along, trying to find the best build for the current meta. This version will be in a video sometime in the next week or two on the channel, but we're going to finish up the league. Basically, it's just, is it with a little bit of green in the sideboard for Questing Druid and Pick Your Poison? We don't have probably the optimal cards. These Tormods, Crypts, and Ceremonious Rejections should probably be Surgical Extractions and Consigned to Memory. But with some stuff going on with life, we just don't have the additional capital to pick up the optimal versions of the cards right now. But Pyroclasm, primarily here for your creature matchups, especially the energy decks. Questing Druid for kind of the grindy things. Couple copies of Unholy Heat for dealing with, things like Frog and Murktide Regent. Pick Your Poison deals with a lot of the same things, as well as potentially catching in one opponent's One Ring, etc. And a couple Ceremonious Rejections to help out against the Eldrazi decks. That said, this is basically a mono-red deck with some blue cantrips. 4 Preordain, 4 Expressive Iteration, 2 Shore Up as kind of a knockoff version of something like Blossoming Defense, and can be a cute comeback trick at untapping your creature in the process as well. Does it? Yeah, untap it. That's what I thought. And the rest of the deck is just kind of your standard DRC Swiftspear, this time with Soulscar Mage, and then Slickshot, as well as a couple Underworld Breaches along with your Lava Darts and Bolts. That is, no pun intended, the nuts and bolts of this deck. I honestly don't remember what the first couple matches were. I think I beat Energy, lost to Storm, and I don't remember the other one. So, problem for red aggro decks right now is just the best deck in the format's a small creature deck, so people are already aiming for small creatures with, whether it be Pyroclasm effects, bolts, fatal pushes, whatever the Never remember the name of the card. Galvanic discharges, etc. So, it's kind of hard to be a low to the ground aggro deck while also in a format where the best deck is low to the ground aggro deck, has a bunch of removal spells, and gains a bunch of life. Now, Prowess doesn't care as much about the life gain as, say, Burn does, but it still kind of struggles with the makeup of the current meta a little bit. You kind of have to get kind of grindy, but then again, you can't be too grindy because all of these decks are now basically playing the One Ring, so, whereas before you could kind of get away a little bit with, the questing druids in the sideboard, and just exchanging resources with energy and just kind of coming out on top in a slow grind. If you can stop their initial, aggressive plan, keep their Ajani from flipping, or keep them from getting a wide bore with Ocelot Pride. The deck was a lot more manageable. Now, even if you answer, say, their first wave of threats and somehow you're left with, 1 or 2 resources, then all of a sudden they're slamming the One Ring, drawing, 3, 4, 5 cards, and suddenly you can't compete with what they're doing. They turn the game around again, even though you dealt with their first wave of threats, and then kind of go from there. Storm's just a little bit faster than us. And while you can certainly play some anti-storm stuff, like Tormod's Crit, Magebane Lizard, that kind of stuff, I don't know that it appreciably swings the matchup. A lot of it honestly comes down to the Storm Pilot. And then the Murktide lists are just... honestly, I think coming out of at least what I've seen of the fairer decks, Murktide's probably the toughest matchup for the red decks. Eldrazi is kind of a racing situation as well, but Eldrazi, I think, is a little bit better set up, which is kind of crazy. You have a deck that can kill on turn 3, but yet Eldrazi just slows you down enough and then takes over the game with whatever their different strategies are, whether it be Trinisphere into One Ring into Through the Breach, or whether it's ramping version of the deck, or the aggressive version of the deck. Either which way, you're not, don't feel like you're the best setup in that matchup either. I tried going back to the version, obviously, that we're playing today with the Temur, with Preordains and Expressive Iterations, trying to find our key cards, and then we're just, kind of getting smacked around by some of our more... Hello, Lexicon, how you doing? Kind of getting smacked around by some of our more difficult matchups. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Hopefully this queue will pop sooner than later. I did drop down to the friendly modern leagues again, just because Prowess and Burn are just getting smacked around so hard. Not that the friendly leagues are a lot better for not playing against tier decks, but... That's pretty decent. We are on the draw. We have Lava Darts, so if our opponent is on Energy or anything like that, we at least get to slow their initial... The only problem I have with Pauper is my understanding from watching Mengu and some other people do Pauper, and we immediately get paired into either... Nope, Frog. Well, either way, this could still be either Garroyos or Murktide. Pauper is, from my understanding, super grindy, and my playstyle tends to be more towards a little bit more towards either fast aggro or simplistic combo. I'm not the biggest fan of super grindy formats. I think we want to keep both of these. I'm going to put Slick Shot underneath. This way my opponent can't thought seize it. Notably, we did get a little bit lucky. Our opponent apparently kept a one-lander and can't find a second land. So... okay, so they are on Reanimator. Can we just kill them this turn? I think so. It's a pretty decent card to leave on top. Yeah, I would probably lean... it's been a minute since I've looked at Pauper, but I would probably lean towards any type of... probably leave either towards Mono Red Synthesizer or Grixis Affinity, honestly. And ironically, the Pauper decks actually cost more than some of the modern, or some of the Pioneer decks right now because of like Pyroblast and stuff. So it would actually take a bit to get into that format right now, monetary wise, since I don't subscribe to Mana Traders anymore. Alright, so we are up against Reanimator. I definitely want this. So they showed us Archon, which is interesting. So we are actually up against a reanimation strategy rather than Temur Reanimator. So the only recent deck I've seen has Psychic Frog, Grave Titan, Archon, and Emperor Bones. So they're this weird amalgamation of like control and with like counterspell and such, along with... how does Emperor Bones work? Beginning combat, exile to one target card from a graveyard, one or more. Adapt. Exiled on the battlefield, finality counter, gates haste, sacrifice the beginning of the next end step. Try it like that. I don't think Lava Dart's going to get us particularly far against, unless they for some reason bring in Orcish Bowmasters. Bless. appreciate that. Let's kind of look into it at some point. Yeah, the one problem with this hand is only the one creature, but I do think we keep this one. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and play one Soul Skirmage here. I probably should play out Tormod's Crypt just to be careful. Like if they hit a big creature here, yep, they have Flare Denial. Yep, definitely should have played this Tormod's Crypt out. But we'll have a Psychic Frog, and literally no action we will take will matter here. Pretty good subset of cards. Maybe our opponent will get sloppy and we can hit them for a lot here. I did screw up here. I still probably should have played Tormod's Crypt. Because if they go like pitch an Archon and then reanimate, we're really going to feel sad. Kind of like that. Alright. Fair enough. No, Infect is terrible. So one of the versions of... got them all in this one, despite the Tormod's Crypt. We'll try this one. Put back one of the DRCs. So one of the versions of Prowess that I was playing for a while had more of a combo feel to it with like scale up and such, and it, since the meta shift with Nadu getting banned and such, it got significantly worse. And that version was a slightly better version of Infect at this point. So. This is kind of like the pressure our opponent puts us under with these Temur Frog decks. Is they have a fair game plan, literally one card fair game plan that we can't beat, and then has this like control, lack of a better term, backup plan that is miserable to play against as well. Don't know if we should be playing around Bowmaster here, but Tainted Indulgence and Reanimate a Fatty. That's an interesting one to pitch, given the fact that they're very close to Delirium here. Oh, they just have Murktide too. Cool. Oh, Toxic Deluge. Okay. I mean, this is the nice part about, Prowess and such, is if your opponent ever does, like, tap out, for instance, with Toxic Deluge or anything, you can often pop them for a pretty good amount of damage. The problem is sometimes closing that last bit of one, two. How do they not have to discard a card? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I guess technically lands. There is 5 different mana values. Bolt would be nice. So what is better, digging deeper or kind of hard to ignore that one. Just gonna go ahead and pass. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I think we actually stole a win from a Temur Frog deck. No, there's not an airplane in my home. Unfortunately, my computer overheats a little bit, so the exhaust fan likes to run a little too loudly. I think this laptop's like 7 years old or so. It's possible, but it's been doing that for it's been doing the rev up, rev down with the fan for probably the last 5 years, and I think I've done a factory rewipe in that time and still had the same problem. So I think it may just literally be the battery overheats a little bit, and the fan has to work a little bit harder to keep it going. Terrible. I think Prowess can beat them, but I think especially as the one, two, yeah, we'll keep this hand. I think as the Prowess decks adopt, not the Prowess decks, as the Boros decks adopt more and more copies of the One Ring, it's very hard to attrition them, which was one of the ways that sometimes I had fairly decent success in the early part of the meta while Nadu was still part of things, is I could use things like Questing Druid and such to kind of outgrind the Boros decks. But now that the meta has almost largely become a prismatic, and nope, okay. Now that the meta has almost become a mid-range soup fest, I think it's a lot worse for decks like Prowess and such. Burn is not in the greatest of places either, so both styles of red aggro are not in great shape right now. Now, that's not saying both decks can't develop plans to counter the meta and have okay matchups across the board, but I mean, now we're playing against Hammer. Like... I thought for a minute maybe I was playing against Death and Taxes, but think I'm interested in one, not interested in the other. Let's see if they block. Okay, Monstrous Rage. I mean, it's honestly possible that the Gruul Energy build is perhaps the best equipped to play against the current meta, and even I don't know that that is good enough in all the matchups. Curious what our opponent will do here. That's unfortunate. So that. Play that, and pass. So keeping in mind I have not played Emberheart in either Pioneer or Explorer or Modern. Interesting. I'm curious. Figured they might try to make a construct here. We could pop it with that. So I can only assume that they have what's the name of the card? Pure Steel Paladin. Which, if they don't have another land drop, we might be able to pop with this Lava Dart. Like, I think those cards are fine in Standard, and they might serve a role. I guess I did play Emberheart a little bit in a Thud deck in Pioneer or Explorer. But I really think the problem is most of your good creatures in Burn or Prowess have to have haste. And that's just kind of the way it is. Point out as a second hammer that kind of got us here is what it is, or you know, any of their 10,000 different protection spells. Like, don't get me wrong, they might be worth exploring, but I don't know that they fix the fundamental problems of the deck. think if you're them, you just let this happen. You play your Pure Steel, and still think they should have played Pure Steel first. Like, Arena of Glory can help somewhat with the problems of... Oh, frack. Not beating this combo. So... Pyroclasm makes some sense here. Unholy Heat and pick your poison. It's been a long time since I've seen a Colossus Hammer. What does a modern hammer deck even look like right now? And they have Sanctifier and Vex, which you don't really have a lot of counterplay to. And then just the other normal suspects. Gingerbread, Giver of Runes, Pure Steel. Ceremonious Rejection feels a little too cute. And these 6. Down 2 Lava Darts, and I don't know how much removal my opponent plays, because I mean we saw whatchamacallit, Portable Hole, but I literally don't know if that's just a one of for whatchamacallit's sake, or if that's I feel like we'll go down these, bring in these, and then go down Underworld Breach, because we figure our opponent will have Sanctifier and Vec. Sounds alright. Sure, opponent's got a Springleaf Drum. Get the Stomping Ground in case we draw Pick Your Poison. It's kind of one of our better starts, so if we can't leverage this into a win. Hardfire Hero, Conservative Spittle, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Dies, deal damage equal to opponent damage to its power. Emberheart Charger, Haste Prowess. Whenever it becomes a target of solar ability, exile the top card. The problem with Emberheart Challenger specifically is it's competing with Slickshot, and I still think Slickshot's better. So maybe there's some consideration for Heartfire Hero over something like Soul Skirmish, perhaps? Like, you try to Soul Scar, try to Emberheart. In, like, these style lists where you're playing Soul Scar Mage anyway. So I can see toying with that, but I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's going to make a huge difference. Obviously, we would love to find one of our 2 copies of Pick Your Poison. Cigar Aid, perhaps? Nope, they just flat out play a Colossus Hammer. Alright, well, let's see if we can punish our opponent here. Shot and land can go to the bottom. We'll leave that on top for next turn. So put them to 15, then they'd take 12. We'll just go ahead and kill this. I think as long as our opponent can't get a creature plus Shadow Spear down this turn, I think there's a decent chance we can win this next turn. Because Surge only protects from... certainly impressive, but I think they're 1 point short. Okay, they're drawing an Ornithopter. Don't want either of those lands. Alright, now we gotta win off draw. Still don't like DRC. Avidart is so-so. And do we risk a Pyroclasm, no creature hand? Don't think we can, right? Yeah, call for science. I think this is a terrible idea, but we'll try it. Not going to play this Pick Your Poison now, because as much as I would kind of like to blow up this Ornithopter, I really do want to kind of catch them in a weird situation where like they play Urza Saga next turn or something, and for some reason they don't have Spell Pierce and we get to blow up their Urza Saga. Boulder on Holy Heat would be our best draws. Just go ahead and take the 2-for-1 while we can. Sacrifices an enchantment. No, they have Shadow Spear in hand, minimum. Sure. Storm Chaser's Talent. I'll look at that one here in a minute. We have Surge. Mm-hmm. Storm Chaser's Talent. We're gonna 1/1 Prowess. Targets from your graveyard. What format are you playing that in? Sure. You have a Relic of Progenitus. Okay, you equipping or are you playing a Pure Steel Paladin? Mm-hmm. Do you think if they attack, we take the trade here? What's up, Foz? How you doing? Pass here. Lava Dart's not great, but like an Esper Sentinel or something, it'll be fine. But one of those isn't great. Mm-hmm. Put it with one card in hand. Reality Chip. Probably should have fetched a response to that. It's actually dumb playing a Scolding Tarn first. Actually, we have no fetchables left, so I guess it isn't that dumb. As much as I want to grow this Questing Druid, I do think I gotta go ahead and with our lava darts coming when we don't want them. So that to hand, that to the bottom. Well, hello there. Just do this while they're tapped out. I feel like I have to do this while they're tapped out. So I know they're drawing bolt. We're drawing bolt. Somewhat the same. We got a lot going on right now. One of my family members is having significant surgery this week, and then we're hoping to move here in the next couple months, so lots of stuff going on, plus work being crazy as always. Okay, so my opponent does nothing. Yeah, this card literally does not matter. No. Just ideally would like to move closer back to where the majority of my family is for parents' medical purposes and someone else's medical purposes. So get another surge. We're just going to get pounded here. I don't know what you're pump faking. If you had, I mean, I guess you could. Okay, so you're just cracking that, sure. I say, if you're trying to pump fake having a surge, there's no way you're pump faking it there. You're either playing it there or you're not. I'll still, if we have our way, I'll still be working in Pittsburgh, but I'll be moving back closer to my parents' area because the cost of living there is a lot cheaper. At the downside of having like an hour-long commute to work a couple times a week. So cheaper area of living while keeping the much better earning potential of a Pittsburgh job. As to how long this league is taking thus far. Portable hole, sure. Somebody outside's not a very happy camper. Alright, so we're going to play Seek the Beast. Hit Scalding Tarn, Expressive Iteration. This is kind of an awkward situation. We have no fetchables left in our deck. Slick Shot is decent if we ever get to go back on the offensive, but I really think we need the EI next turn. So I'm going to put the EI in my hand, put Slick Shot on the bottom, play that since we're not going to be doing anything. Let me go ahead and attack with this, see what they do. I don't see them blocking, so. Well, I'm probably looking at closer to 60 miles away, but more towards back toward the Youngstown Warren area where I'm from, just because of cost of living, pretty much. The sad part is, I don't even know if this is game 2 or game 3, and we're just this far drained on clock. Pretty sure this is only game 2. Hammer, sure. If we have Pure Steel, we lose. No, actually it is game 3. Alright, well, we lose. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot our opponent got us game 1 with Pure Steel Paladin and whatnot. So, this build's fine. I mean, the problem is, like, trying to play these attritioning games. Yeah, kind of like they do on Arena. Would make things a little bit easier. But, I think the problem with playing an attritioning game is just so many people are prepared for attritioning games right now. Like, the energy decks have the One Ring. Hammer, as you saw, has Urza Saga, the Reality Chip. They have the ability to play a relatively long game. So you get in these weird situations where you can't really win a fast game because there's so much creature interaction in the format, and then you can't really win a long game because, well, the energy decks are like a half step ahead of you, and Dimir Frog, Dimir Murktide, is also a half step bigger than you, and those decks always beat, or almost historically beat, the decks slightly underneath them. So, Prowess is in rough shape, just like Burn right now. Because it can't be quite fast enough, and it can't grind quite good enough, so you can win matches, but it's not the best of situations. Anyways, on to yet another energy deck, or energy / Prowess deck. This time, this is the Gruul Energy build we played several weeks ago at this point with an adapted sideboard. Main thing, no Harsh Mentor. So we're playing 3 Mage Bane and 3 Tormods primarily for Storm. And the Festivities is mostly here for energy. Pick Your Poison is just a nice card. Gives us some outs in some situations, while also dealing with things, like Urza Saga, early artifacts, etc. And then 4 copies of Blood Moon effects, 2 Magus, 2 Blood Moon. We're basically a mono red deck other than these Pick Your Poisons, so perfectly fine playing them. And obviously we have Jiggy, so. I think I might have forgotten about Gigant the last game, but I don't know that it would have really mattered. But, yeah. 4 Swift Spear, 4 Great DRC, 4 Amped Raptor, 4 Slick Shot. We play 4 Unstable Amulets, 4 copies of Galvanic Discharge. So we have 12 1-mana removal spells, 4 copies of Crash Through to kind of give us a pseudo trample effect, and then kind of go from there. So, one card I could see adding would be Arena of Glory, but I don't think it's really worth it right now. So we'll give it a try, see what happens. I didn't brew it myself. I tweaked the sideboard myself. This is probably the most successful version of Energy right now. Not to say, or not Energy, of Prowess right now. Not to say that any of the versions of them are particularly good right now. I've definitely played against this player before, but I don't know how recently. Yeah. Either which way, I don't think we can risk the 1-lander, so. Keep this one, put back. Put back the 3rd land, or do I put back Underworld Breach? I feel like we put back the 3rd land. Like we're still strikes me as we're up against Energy. Could be Storms. No, it wouldn't be Storm. Nope, we're up against Zoo. Okay. That's why I don't remember seeing them before. It's literally been a minute since I've seen Zoo, but this was actually a mistake because I needed that energy to kill Territorial Kavu most likely, and our opponent could have a Leyline Binding for this Unstable Amulet. Like, I know that it'll deal Bravo for some reason, and I was like, oh wait, yeah, they're the person that was like the quasi-leaderboard of the friendly leagues a couple quarters ago because of minions will come in very handy. Unfortunately, we're well within range of a lot of nonsense, so. And the bolt, and we're dead. Alright, Blood Moons and those come in. Pick your poisons. Unironically come in. Let's take a look at the zoo. Scion of Draco. Ragavian's really the only thing that Lava Dirt's remotely good at killing. Let's get rid of the crash throughs and get rid of 2 Lava Darts, I guess. Problem is these zoo decks have Sun Cleanser, which kind of makes our game plan a little bit worse. Naturally, they have the one card that's good against Blood Moon. Spear can go to the graveyard. Opponent should have killed this before we got a chance to surveil. By the way, this is so dumb that this can do this, but you know, whatever. And they're gonna have Scion into victory. Nope, Territorial Kabu. Yep, this is just... Can't beat this nonsense. Alright. Losing to Zoo. This is why I still pack some over Pick Your Poisons in my sideboard, but it's just not enough in this matchup. So... Gigantha. This hand's fine for what it is. Surveil here, most likely. Blue light control. Probably not the best matchup for the hand we kept. Nope, Croy does. This is the player we played earlier. Nope. Don't really want to jam this into a bunch of open mana. Can't activate Cephalid Coliseum there, friend. Okay, I can go to the graveyard. You kind of have to jam at this point. We don't necessarily have inevitability. Opponent could easily have Bowmasters, although I think these decks typically have like sure. Surprised it took them that long to figure that out, but hopefully they don't have a Gruul in hand. So I guess the Underground Mortuary could have been one of the cards they drew off to an Indulgence. They've been a Psychic Frog. That's interesting. Ephemerate. Basically have to go for the win here. They have something like Solitude, more power to them. So we know they're drawing an Ephemerate. The problem is they can activate Cephaloid Coliseum next turn. So we know their hand is Ephemerate. I guess we just go ahead and do this. Draw 3, discard 3. Go to combat, see if they do anything. We get to present lethal without having to take down an answer to... Alright. So Groyo's confirmed. We want the Torments, Crypts. Lava Darts are kind of middling. Some Crash Throughs are kind of middling as well. Crash Through or a Lava Dart? Lava Dart can at least, I mean, at a cost, answer Emperor of Bones and Solitude, so... Definitely keeping this one. That is certainly an interesting land to lead on. Not going to slow roll the Tormod's Crypt this game. Well, I mean, there is some consideration since we know they have Prismatic Ending, but I think that's a card I'm interested in leaving on top. Fa la 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 la, fa la 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 la. It gets a good Garroyos. No reason to attack. Sure. You know, I really am just seeing a bunch of mountains right now. I could have Force of Negation here, which would be mildly unfortunate. Apparently Blood Moon wins the game. Alright, don't think we can risk the one lander, unfortunately. So... mulligan. Try this hand, it's fine. Put back... DRC or Swiss Spear? I guess we put back one of the Swiss Spears. Burning Catacombs. The only deck we generally play is this is Yawgmoth, and if they have Bowmasters, we get max punished. But they mulligan to 5, so I don't know that we can really afford to play around entirely much. We'll just go to combat first, see what happens. Certainly a card I want to leave on top. Three of a kind. Hard cast a Yogg or a Shoulder? Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth. Sure. Okay, Amp Director. That was dumb. That was extremely dumb. No, we just get steamrolled because I didn't just cast my Galvanic Blast or Galvanic Discharge like I should have. this has got to be mindful here. Yeah, if we just done this the right way, this would have been such an easier game. Opponent wouldn't have gotten to draw a new hand and probably have found yet another copy of Yawgmoth. Hey, another copy of Yawgmoth. Shocker. In the festivities. Don't know if you really want Tormod's Crypt in this matchup. Almost feels like DRC is a liability in this matchup. And then Lava Dart's not the best. Try like that. I think we can keep this hand. This hand's alright. Mm-hmm. For now. Of course I find Blood Moon off that. Why wouldn't I, right? Mm-hmm. Guess on a positive note, it cleared out 4 lands that I didn't want to draw. Oh, for crying out loud, how many mistakes can I make in a game? Apparently quite a bit. Like, oh, I can still bolt the... never mind. And they're going to have... Yep, Bowmasters for the max punish. Nope, just Fatal Push. Mm-hmm. Sure. One, two. Yes, I am on Discord. I don't have my own Discord, but yes, I am on Discord. Mm-hmm. This is just the activated abilities. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. I just don't think we're fighting through this. Like, I could dart this, flashback dart. We're just not beating this attrition nonsense, so I goofed both game 1 and game 2, and left us in just a bad situation, so. Alright, I mean, kind of really hard to get too much of a read off of this so far. I mean, we lost the Yawgmoth, but both games I punted at least once. We beat Garroyos, and then we lost to Zoo. The only thing you can really do to beat Zoo is just increase the number of pick your poisons, and Eladio de Bravo is like the main person I see that runs that deck in the friendly leagues. So I don't know that I really want to adjust for a deck that, yes, it does kind of show up in the meta right now. In fact, it's probably the top aggro deck in the format, but it's still only like 3% of the meta, 2% of the meta. 4%, I guess, in the last 14 days. But the Blood Moon plan seems fine. I mean, it won us a game. It might have stole us a game in the Yawgmoth matchup. Like, this sideboarding definitely needs testing. I definitely need to play a little bit better when I'm kind of getting to these longer, grindier games. But I still don't think Prowess is well positioned. Like, you can certainly win games, but you're not going to, like, overwhelm opponents by any means. So, what's going on? But Lexicon, yes, I am on Discord. Dusk7784 is my handle on there. Don't know if you're messaging or not, because things are being a little bit goofy right now on my end as far as reading messages. But yeah, just want to thank everybody for hanging out tonight. Appreciate the support for the Prowess and Burn content on the channels, and I'll continue to do it as long as I can for now. But next week, as I said, is going to kind of be up in the air because of a family situation. Member of my family is having surgery next Friday, so we'll be kind of play it by ear whether I'll be able to stream Sunday night or not. Hopefully I'll be back at the latest the following week, but obviously family comes first over hobbies and such. But I want to thank everybody for hanging out. Whether it be Lexicon, Malcolm, Paul, Foz, everybody that's hung out tonight. I greatly appreciate you guys' support. Without you guys, it really wouldn't be worth doing this. Quite frankly, even as little of content creation as I do, it really just doesn't serve a purpose if there's not an audience for it. So can't really be here without you guys and gals. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and give us a follow on Twitch, MTG_Nexus. And if you like Burn content, don't forget to check out MTG Nexus Red. And see you hopefully next week.